Hey everyone, Mark Montgomery here with more of the Coalition application prompts. We're going to work on the one that has to do with challenging a belief or idea. This is very similar to one that is on the Common Application, so let's dig in. I'll read it out loud and you can follow along. Has there been a time when you've had a long-cherished or accepted belief challenged? How did you respond? How did the challenge affect your beliefs? So, the first thing we have to do with this prompt is to think about, again, the basic parameters, the basic outline of every good college essay, and that is, where's the story and where's the reflection? So, basically, we're going to find a story about a conflict of ideas between you and something else, someone else, and then we're going to reflect upon that and ask ourselves, so what does it all mean? So first of all, let's talk about that belief or that value that was challenged. You want to take an inventory in some ways of what are those beliefs that you really hold dear. You know, is it loyalty? Is it something having to do with animal rights? Is it something that has to do with some very controversial subject that you have a very strong opinion about? Is it something that is a value or an idea of how people should behave that was challenged and that you had to say something out loud when people were behaving in a way that you thought was just not acceptable? Again, what you're trying to identify, number one, is what are your core beliefs? What are your core values? And then, when have been the times when those beliefs have been challenged? When has there been a conflict between you and someone else over something that you care very much about? So that's where we're finding the tension. That is the nut of this particular prompt. We're trying to find that conflict between something that you believe and care about fervently, and then the conflict with someone else or some organization or some group of people. It could be your parents, could be the school rules, could be society as a whole. It could have been just a random encounter on the street. But there's a conflict, and we're trying to get at that conflict. Why? Because we want to understand what makes you, the applicant, tick. What is it that you care about? So we're trying to identify that value, that belief that is at the core of who you are. The story at the heart of this essay is your response. So there's the story about the conflict, but there's also the resulting action or inaction or whatever happened after the conflict. What did you do? What was your response when you came against this conflict? Did you do something? Did you say something? Or did you not? And this is a possible thing. Maybe you didn't defend your core belief. Maybe you felt this conflict, but you didn't do anything about it, and therefore that's what the essay is about, your decision to do nothing. So, and maybe you regret it, or maybe you're glad you did because it could have been really a conflagration, and sometimes that is the better path. So you want to be thinking about the story. The story is not only just about the belief, it's also about the conflict and then the resulting action that happened as a result of that conflict. Finally, there's this business about how did it affect your beliefs. That in this conflict and then whatever action that happened as a result of the conflict that you're recounting in your story, how did it affect your beliefs? Were your beliefs reinforced? Were they challenged and weakened? Did you change your mind? And there's often a good reason to change your mind. You might have a conflict of ideas and then realize, oh, well, I just learned something there that maybe I should alter my belief or my understanding of the world. So what was it that affected your beliefs? What happened inside you, in your brain, in your head, in your mind, and in your heart? How did this affect you as a human being? When you have this conflict, something happened, you behaved in a certain way as a result of this conflict, And then, how do you feel about it? Was it the right thing to do? Do you feel like you did the right thing? Do you feel like you understand things differently now than you did? Do you regret the way you behaved and feel like, oh, next time, this is how I'm going to handle that situation? Lots of different ways you can think about it, and it doesn't really matter. Again, you're not a superhero, you are a human being. And the more that you can share your humanity, and maybe you're even showing that there were good things about this and bad things about this, things you learned that were positive about yourself, things that you learned that were perhaps a little bit more negative about yourself. That is cool, that is totally fine. What you're trying to do is share that humanity, share that understanding of really who you are as a person. And I'll tell you, with an admissions officer, they want that humanity, because those are the kinds of people that, aren't those the kind of people you would rather have as your friend? Somebody who learns from what happens in their lives. So yeah, you can let the cape go. You don't have to be the superhero. You want to have that richness of analysis and reflection, so that you are sharing your understanding of who you are as a person and what your priorities are. And again, this is based on a value or belief. So maybe it was totally reinforced. Awesome. Maybe you feel like this was totally, absolutely, 100% the right thing to do. Maybe you have a little bit more nuanced version of that analysis. Or maybe you have totally changed your mind as a result of it. However the story actually turns out, that's the way you should go with it. Think about your values. Think about what's important to you. And then think about how you got to that place where you are today. That's what this essay is about. Hope that's helpful. I'll see you on the next video.